Europe is picking up steam again as the politicians and decision makers return from the beach. A Greek exit from the euro is back on the cards, with Athens warned it's on its last chance to get with the programme, otherwise the money will stop. Athens wants more time, and the Greek PM is in Berlin on Friday for talks with Angela Merkel, part of a charm offensive with his paymasters to the north. James Shugg, senior economist at Westpac, joins us now from London. James, welcome.
Hi, Tiki.
Well, everyone pouring back from holidays, as I said, but the Euro season, silly season, is still continuing, and very much the focus on Greece.
Absolutely, and we've had the head of the EU finance ministers just come back from Athens, having discussed the bailout extension of 2 years that Greece wants with the Prime Minister. And as you say, the Prime Minister of Greece is now travelling to see the French and German leaders. At this stage, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to be decided, but the noises have been favourable. There's a vibe out there that, along the lines of Merkel, for example, saying we'll listen to what he's got to say. I think there's a recognition that the Greek economy is being driven into the ground, and the measures that are put in place so far have actually been counterproductive in terms of helping to get the budget deficit down. Now, it's going to mean more money is going to have to be given from the northern states to Greece, but the alternative would probably be even more costly. That would be a Greek default, possibly leaving the euro, a banking system collapse, much more uncalculable, I suppose, in terms of the cost. So I think we'll probably get there, but I'm not promising.
I guess it depends who is actually taking the loss on all of this. To me, 2 years after all these discussions, 2 years of grace sounds an awfully long time.
And look, it is, because they continually underestimated the nature and extent of the problem. They were putting on Bandaids when they needed, major surgery. And unfortunately, the Bandaids involved yet more debt for Greece, just over a longer time frame. I mean, there needs to be more debt written off, and they need to be given more time to cut their budget deficit. If that's not the case, then the economy is going to be driven even further into the ground, and we'll need yet another bailout, and eventually they'll default.
Well,
so I think that it's... Go on.
Well, you talk about debt needing to be written off, and if you look at the social issues in Greece now and unemployment, over 50% youth unemployment, that would be simply unimaginable here in Australia. Now, the alternative, if there was a full Greek default, they went back to the drachma, I would imagine that youth unemployment would fall a lot quicker under that scenario, with tourism and companies going in. It would just be different people, bankers, losing the money.
Look, the issue though is that a default, firstly, it doesn't mean that they would have to leave the euro necessarily, but if the banking system were to fail in Greece, the economy would just grind to a halt. Who would want to go there? There are no tourists going, 40% tourism decline, because people are worried about what it's going to be like in the streets at night. I mean, you're right to mention the human misery that's associated with all this. The best way to ease some of that misery is for Northern Europe, relatively wealthy, should be a little bit more lenient towards their partner in the euro. And ultimately, I think that's going to be the case.
Let me talk about Europe more broadly, because there's been some pretty miserable figures out today, I noticed. Germany's private sector shrank for a fourth month, and surveys suggested that the Eurozone is headed for a recession, 7 months of downturn in a row.
Well, look, I actually think the Eurozone has been in recession since last year. For most of a year, we've had several quarters of contraction with a flat quarter.